Hello, and thank you for coming back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect. I'm so happy we're here again. With me today, I have the beautiful Paula de Candia and Colleen Woodhead. Why don't you
Hi.
say hello, everybody?
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
I want to thank all the viewers who are already joining us. I want to thank you for being here with us tonight as we discuss yet another beautiful topic, and that is faith versus fear. So this is great. This is our fourth show, girls.
Wow.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. It's been lovely. It's been every single time we've had this show. Not only have I learned from you, but we have also learned so much from our audience and our viewers.
Yeah.
So I want us to take this moment right now, welcome everybody who's watching us, and ask them to please press that share button so that other people could also benefit from all the gold that's being offered here tonight. And also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. So with that, girls, I'm so happy to be here again with you tonight. So our topic tonight is faith versus fear. So my first question is, what is fear to you? What does it mean to you? And I want to put this out to the audience. What does fear mean to you? So let's go to Colleen. Oh, Colleen, you have a definition for fear,
I
don't you?
did. I looked it up. I've got my notes here.
Awesome.
So here, when I looked it up,
Give us that definition, please.
unpleasant emotion that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or is a threat. So,
Okay.
and I thought that I wanted to add that it can be real or perceived, because I think sometimes fear is something that we've almost made up. It's not necessarily based on reality.
So will you give us that definition one more time, please?
Sure. Fear is an unpleasant emotion that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or is a threat.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. All right. So with that, I want to ask you, Paula, what does fear mean to you?
Well, it's kind of exactly what Colleen says to me, is this uncomfortable, distressed feeling. And I believe in all we experience, at one point in life, we all have this experience of fear. So some fears are small and you don't even realize you have them. And others are big that we are definitely aware of. Now, as Colleen says, fear could be partly imagined. So we can get scared simply because we think or imagine something could happen, right? It hasn't happened, but it could happen. Now, some neuroscientists claim that humans, believe it or not, are the most fearful creatures on the planet because of our ability to learn, to think, and that creates fear in our minds. So that kind of brings me to, why do we fear?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why do we fear? So I want to just take a second, Paula, sorry, to just make sure that we engage our audience. Please let us know, what is fear to you? Is the explanation resonating with you at this moment? And as we dive deeper into why do we fear? And then we'll come back to Colleen for the same question, yes?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
which one?
The why
do we fear?
What does that mean? What does fear mean to me?
Yes.
I agree 100% with Paula. I think that fear can be based on information, like something that we've learned, or it can be instinctual, right? So it can be something that when it's like a true danger, like a bear or something that can hurt us, that our instinct may kick in. And I think it's also possible for us to take information and have either rational or irrational fears. And by that, I mean, a rational fear is, I've been hurt, 40 times, or I've been hurt 10 times, or I've been hurt 4 times. So I know that if I do this again, it'll hurt. sometimes we do an association. It might be an irrational fear that we associate similar circumstances, and then we just assume there's going to be a fear, like a that uncomfortable sensation, or there's a threat somehow that doesn't exist, but it still reacts in our body the same way that a true fear would, right? So we get that stress reaction, that fight or flight reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. How about you, Dela?
That's very interesting. No, totally. I totally agree with you. Fear to me is, sometimes I can be fearful of something that might have a real danger, but I've also been known to fear things that are not really rational. I at one point, and I will get into this, but at one point I was fearing mice, believe it or not. Cute little mice, and so I had to get over that fear. But we'll dive into this later, right? Okay, let's go to Paula. I want to make sure that I acknowledge our viewers who are joining us. Tammy, hello. Lisa Anna Palmer, hello. Frida,
Hi.
hello. Hi, everybody who's joining us. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're talking about faith versus fear. So far, we've tackled the question of what does fear mean to you? So, Paula, back to you as we go into why do we fear?
Before I go into that, only because Colleen started talking and something triggered my mind. And then you talk and then something else triggers my mind. It's like, I could go and now talk. Like, don't have me talk. So I kind of thought that for me, in a way, fear could come in 3 different ways. Instinctual, it could be learned, and it could be thought. So associated with pain, for example, which Colleen touched upon it, is when I think it's associated somehow with some things that have happened in the past and it's to do with our survival. That is just, now fear associated to people, for example, places, situations, might have to do, not sure, but it may have to do with maybe negative past experiences that somehow we've learned and we became afraid of.
Yeah.
Or we learned to become afraid of, rather. Mm-hmm. And then we have the other side with, let's say, even our cultural norms that teaches us how to be fearful. So let's take, for example, what's happening now in the world and this COVID. Walking, let's say, in a store or gathering with a group of people socially. And when you see somebody now wearing a mask, what happens? What happens inside in our, with our thoughts? That's something that we've learned to be fearful of. Oh my gosh, Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I looked at it: instinctual, learned, and thought. So I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, for sure it does. So you kind of answered that question actually. Why do we fear?
Well, I think we fear because we are actually programmed. It's programmed in our central nervous system to act instinctively that way. Even as babies, we are equipped to the survival instinct mechanism, right? To respond to fear in a fear way in dangerous situations. So it helps us to protect ourselves, basically. Now, being fearless doesn't mean that you don't fear. It simply means that maybe you find ways to manage your fears, or you find ways to overcome the fears, right? Now, I find that many people, and I don't know if you've experienced this, and even with myself in the past, associate fear with weakness. But the truth is, it's hardwired in our brain, and for a very good reason, for protection. So being afraid, it's a normal brain function, provided that we are afraid when we see a lion in front of us. Now when a flying butterfly, shows up and we get scared.
And it's so interesting because what I might feel as fear if I encounter a lion, like you said, someone else might feel the same fear when they see a spider.
Yeah,
that is so interesting to me. And you're saying why does that happen?
You make a comment?
Yes, please.
Because Paula, you triggered something in my mind.
No, want to bring in the viewers into this.
Absolutely.
Right? Please let us know what you think of this question. Why do we react to different scenarios the way we do? Yeah, Colleen.
Just to tie in, it's I mean it's a similar concept, but the idea that sometimes our fears are based on a limiting belief, right? So every time I've trusted, a man, or you know what I mean, like every time I've trusted this type of person, a policeman, or every time I've trusted a teacher, or whatever, somebody in authority or somebody close to me, every time then this has happened, and then I create that limiting belief that that's just the way it is. And the reality is that's not the way it is. That particular person may have hurt you, but that doesn't mean that everybody, and we have a tendency to generalize.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be triggered by a limiting belief.
That is so cool. Can I just say, I had this exact same experience, because growing up in Iran, we were always afraid of authority, because they would hassle us for different reasons. So it was like we always ran away from authority. We never trusted authority. So as I grew up, I took that fear with me, and every time I swear to you, every time I saw a police car, my heart started racing. And so I had to really look into that. Like, what the heck is going on with me? You would think that I've done something wrong.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Was that based on a trauma that you experienced, or just because the society, that was the society saw them as a threat?
I think there was a lot of, not a personal experience, not like I had gone through it myself, but a lot of my family members were arrested by the police for opposing the government, or for being an activist or whatever, and they got executed. So I know the fear was justified.
Wow. Yeah, very justified.
But I think I just took that fear along as I grew up, and I moved that from that country into a more civilized country, and I still believe that I needed to be afraid of the authority. So
yeah,
now, like, it's been a couple of years, I'm not like that anymore. My heart doesn't race. So just to bring you back to that. But thank you for mentioning that. That was really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's true, and it applies to so many different areas, right? So you had one particular area, but it can be, a child that's been abused. You might look up to if you're abused by your mom or your dad or your uncle or whatever, that you might look to somebody similar to that and be fearful. And it's, and it's a true, obviously, if you've had a trauma, it's a true fear. It's justified, but it may not be justified across the board.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Paula, anything to add?
No. Yeah, I think fear is fear, justified or not, right? Like if you feel scared about something, there is always a reason. And as you said, Dela, you said that for a long time you were afraid of little mice. So do we need to know the reason, or do we need to become aware so we can see what we can do with it, so it doesn't hinder upon us?
I like that. Thank you.
I think that if you look around you, and if you're afraid of something, like I don't like snakes, and if you look around you, and there's a lot of people around me that are not afraid of snakes.
I'm not afraid of snakes.
Right? So I know that that's not necessarily a justified fear, but it still exists. And then, like you said, Paula, so then I get to decide, do I want to do something about it? And what I'm gonna do is just stay away from snakes. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, you guys, I love where this conversation is heading. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna come back to you for 1 second. Give me a second. I want to say hi to Carolyn, Rosemary, and Melody. Thank you so much for joining us as we are digging deep into the topics of faith versus fear. So now you said something, Paula, that kind of resonated with me, and I love that. So you said, doesn't matter whether it's justified or not. And we hear this so much as we grow up. Oh, don't be afraid. It's nothing. Don't be afraid. It's nothing. But you're saying you have to be aware of it. You have to face it, accept it. Just like, and we've been talking about this forever. Accept your emotions, deal with them, right? So, right?
Absolutely. Feelings don't have to be justified. It's what it is. But acknowledge them, but don't allow you to take over and rule you or rule what you do with your life or in that moment, or
I love it.
Like I'm at a deep core, I'm a Christian. So funny enough, I looked up and the Bible mentions do not be afraid about 80 times. I thought that's incredible.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yes.
Also talks about fear coming from the evil and peace coming from God. I don't know. Like I if you ask me, I agree with that. And I personally, every time I'm scared of something, and not necessarily a phobia. We're talking about fears, right? Because phobia is a completely different story. And I think Colleen brought it up with what she mentioned earlier, was about justification of, if you get traumatized or if you get abused or if you get something happens drastic and dramatic and traumatizing in life, of course you but phobias are like something you don't even know. Like you said about the mice, that could have been some kind of a phobia for you. Like other people can be we talked about claustrophobia and other phobias, but let's put that aside because we're not talking about that tonight. I wanted to bring up the fact that with going back to the Bible, and 80 times in the Bible saying, do not be afraid. Also in Philippines 4:6-7, for those who believe in God like myself. No offense to anyone who doesn't. I love you guys and I like you regardless. Okay, just the same.
No, this is a religiously respectful platform. You
Absolutely, 100%.
So before you go on, Paula, I just want to make sure, because just before we started this talk tonight, we were actually talking about how wonderful it is to be able to have a conversation with Paula being a Christian, a believer in the Bible and Jesus Christ, and with Colleen and myself, just being spiritual people and not necessarily following a religion, but being able to sit here and having a conversation and being able to look at different topics from different point of views and loving on each other, because we are like sisters, right? And so I find that so beautiful. I think there should be more conversations like this. So Paula, you are so welcome to talk about what you want.
Thank you. Well, I was going to say that Philippians 4:6-7 says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer with thanksgiving, give your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So to me, just by reciting that, I just find peace, right? Anyway, that's me.
That's beautiful.
And that you just mentioned peace. That brings me to the faith side of it. Because for me, when we talk about faith, having faith in something greater than ourselves, whether it's God or anything, right? There's so many different religions and non-religions that believe in something greater than ourselves. And I think that that's what faith means to me.
Okay. So we'll come back to faith, right? Because we still need to dig.
Oh, we want to. Okay.
Okay. So I have a comment from Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. Oh, sorry, Colleen, I blocked you there. Just right. Debbie, thank you so much. Sometimes fear is learned. My mother was absolutely terrified of thunderstorms because I grew up seeing this. I too became terrified. It was when I was 16, my sister-in-law stood with me and we watched a storm together. She talked me through the storm.
That's amazing. Yes. That is a really good example, Debbie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you kind of become aware of how rational is this fear, right? And it goes back to, okay, I see a lion, I need to be afraid because I might lose my head, right? But this is just a thunderstorm and it's not going to cause me any harm, right?
But is the lion in a cage? Like, is the lion behind a fence?
No, I'm talking not.
You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah.
for some people, that same lion, they could, even at the zoo behind a big fence, they may still have that terrifying fear. And so it can, even a justified fear can be irrational in certain situations.
Right. So let's say hi to more people who joined us. Edna and Tammy, hello. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we talk about the topics of faith versus fear. Now, go ahead and put down in the comments section, if you're watching this and this resonates with you, what are you afraid of? What are some fears that you experience in your own life, right? So I want to say this with humility, that I'm afraid, I'm horrified every single time my son leaves my house. And I don't know about you ladies, because I know you have kids too, but there's a lot of moms out there who may feel this way. So every single day I have to go through this, and I can't exactly hold them hostage in my house. So how do I deal with this? And I want to also, I think this is a good time for me to tell you my acronyms for the word fear. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. So my acronyms for the word fear: feeling enraged, anxious, resentful. Dead silence.
No, I'm absorbing it. It's good. It's deep.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Feeling enraged, anxious, and resentful. And I'll tell you why I picked those words. Feeling enraged, because when I'm afraid, I am totally enraged at my lack of control.
Oh, interesting.
And anxious for obvious reasons, because my heart races and I'm sweaty and, my mind is racing. And resentful. I think, again, because I feel like something might happen that I cannot control. So those are my words as acronyms. I don't know if you came up with your own acronyms.
I found a couple.
What's that?
I found a couple.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so the first one I found was forget everything and run, which goes to your racing heart and just your fight and flight kicking in. And then I like this one better because it had the more empowering side of it, was face everything and rise.
I like that one. Face everything and rise. Did you say rise?
Rise, yeah.
Rise, awesome. Okay, so Paula, we're coming to you. Lisa says she's afraid of the dark.
Me too, Lisa.
This is a good one. Like, a lot of people are afraid of the dark. I used to be afraid of the dark. Paula?
Yes.
Did you have acronyms for the word fear?
See, I'm an active person and I like to stay positive. So when I think of fear, I came up with my own acronym not long ago, actually. It's find E-motion. So E, motion, and reset, so you can fast, elevate, and rise. So for me, it's all about go, 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 find ways. Something happens, no problem. Plan B, plan C, plus Z. Like, I never, like, it's just the way I've always been. So I like what Dale Carnegie says, and I'm going to say it because I'm going to actually read it. Just give me a second because I can never remember exactly. So it says, inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy. that speaks to me because I'm an active person and my mind races just the way I'm, on the go all the time. So now it comes to mind based on actually just, I think Colleen said something, that it's a conditioning, it's a mind conditioning that we kind of default to. So we do make decisions out of habits and old conditionings. Bob Proctor, for example, says change is inevitable, but personal goal, it's a choice. I would say personal growth, it's a choice. And with that comes the fact that we discussed earlier, which we discussed earlier about awareness. Like going back to you and your fear about your son leaving the house. You have choices to make there. The good thing is you became aware of. That's the first step to improvement. Because if you don't know what the issue is, you can't fix it. So there are some strategies you can go through. However, you can go to a homeopath and will fix it like this.
I fear not, because
with a little remedy. There are other steps you could take to, but I don't know if we are there yet to discuss steps about how to conquer fear or how to.
Well, I think we better move it along, right? So I'm sure we say hi to people who just joined, right? Frida, Kim, Glenda, Maureen, thank you so much for watching us as we discuss the topics of faith versus fear. And we're asking you, what are you afraid of? What are some fear that you experience in your life? What is it that stops you in your track? Let's hear from the viewers. Okay, so my next question is this: how does fear hinder us, and how does it help us? So I'm going to go to you, Colleen.
Sure.
Hello to James McNeil. He says, brilliant.
Thanks, James.
Brilliant. Okay, so go ahead, Colleen.
So fear hinders us in that sometimes we let the fear overcome us and prevent us from moving forward. And I think that if it's an unjustified fear, that we have to push our way through it to some extent, right? There's some theories about immersion, putting yourself in that situation so that you can overcome it. And I think there's a strong sense of accomplishment when you overcome a fear, right? So fear of heights. So I have a story of when I was at the CN Tower one night and it was just like my legs were shaking, my body stopped moving, and my rational mind was thinking, this is ridiculous. Like you're not going anywhere. But I couldn't make my body move. But when I pushed my way through it, and I made myself, I mean, it was a baby step. But I made myself overcome it enough that I could say, yes, I didn't let it take over. Right.
I love it. Okay, so for those who don't know about the CN Tower, there's a part on the very top, and you're literally standing on this like see-through floor.
Oh no, I got in the elevator and went 30 stories higher.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so it's this tiny. Anyway, it's even higher. And there's also the thing that you can go outside and lean over. I've never done that. I don't know that could be something I can put on my bucket list. But yeah. So and it's before it used to be the tallest building in the world, the CN Tower. So it's not anymore. But but anyway, and fear. So it hinders us in that way. And how it helps us, obviously, we've already talked about it, is that that whole fight or flight survival. And that's where it helps us, in my opinion. Okay. Do you have any other examples of where it might hinder or help?
Paula?
Well, going to what you just said, Colleen, about flight and fight, I find that there are 4 actions based on feelings and emotions. So there are 4 types. So we have in this sphere of categories. So we have freeze, we have fight, we have flight, and we have fright. So let's start with freeze. It means you stop everything you're doing in order to decide what to do next. Let's say, for example, you read the memo about the company. Let's say you're working in this company and you read the memo about them laying off some people. And now you get into that fight or flight state, and you have some options that you have to deal with. You either fear directly telling the boss, for example, why he should not fire you, or be more proactive and work around it and start looking for another job. Now, if the fear becomes overwhelming, then you get frightened, so you end up doing nothing. So you freeze.
That's how
Now
I
you
get
fight it.
paralyzed, for sure. I can see that. Yes.
Or you can, at the same time, become obsessed about these layoffs, complain about it. So now you go into the fright state. And if you stay there for a very long time, guess what that leads into? Hopelessness and depression.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a good example of how fear can hinder us. Another aspect of it is that when we are scared, we feel scarier things. Or how do I say it? The more scared you feel, the scarier things may seem to you. So let me give you an example, because sometimes with the English language, I kind of twist the words and I myself get confused. So in other words, if you are already in a state of fear, your fear response is amplified. So even in harmless events or situation, you are scared. So for example, imagine someone talking about a spider, or you're watching on what's that, Discovery Channel, right? And you see tarantulas. And now you feel a little tickle on your skin from your hair, or maybe the a thread that comes up from your sweater. You startle, right? You may even jump out of your seat. Or imagine you have fear of flying, for example, and the slightest turbulence in the plane will make your blood pressure rise to the sky, just like that.
They use that in movies, right? That's why they play the scary music, to get you into that spot, and then they choo. Sorry, I like scary movies. Go ahead.
So anyway, I think I covered it. Didn't I? Like, how does it hinder us?
Flight.
It depends on where we are at and how we react to it, right? It depends what happens to us when we are scared.
So let's say hi to people. Tony, he's joined us and he's wishing us a good night. God bless, sweet dreams, stay safe. Thank you. And we have a special viewer, Robert J. Moore. He's saying hello, ladies. He says, I married Faith, and fear, I look at face, everything, and recover.
Oh, I love that.
I think so.
Can you put that up so that we can read it as well?
It's gonna cover your face. I think
that's okay. I don't mind.
So I married Faith. His wife's name is Faith, actually.
That's okay.
And fear, I look at face, everything, and recover. I think
everything and recover is his acronym.
That's what I think. Yeah. Yes. Perfect. Yes. Fear. Yes. Look, face everything and recover. That's how he looks at fear. That's awesome. Really good.
That is good. I like that.
Yes. Thank you, Robert. We have Ahmed watching us all the way from Iran.
Oh, welcome.
I know, it's not great. So thank you so much for watching. Rosemary Costa is watching us as well. So thank you. Okay, so here's, I think this is a good gateway for us to move into our next topic, which is faith. And I think we all love that. That's our favorite part of the shows as we're going to talk about this. Okay, so we've got another comment from Eleni. Can I read it?
Yes.
Okay. I was on the front of the Leviathan. I think that's how you say it.
Yes.
Leviathan at the Wonderland with my son. And it had been a while since I had been on a roller coaster. When I set off, I started panicking, but there was nothing I could do. I started breathing in through my nose for 4 to 6 seconds and out through my mouth for 4 to 6 seconds. When I got to the top, I was really relaxed and calmed down. I could even keep my eyes open for the for the first drop and for the rest of the ride. Now I love them. As I'm reading this, you guys, my heart is like
I love the Leviathan. Who is that? Elena? What?
Lainey. Thank you so much. Yes. So this is what's your take on this? This is just quickly because we need to move on to our next.
The fact that you and I had exactly opposite reactions. Like we had physical reactions to her story.
But okay, so can I just touch on this because aren't those physical reactions kind of similar whether you are fearful of something or you're excited about something?
Huh. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, your heart races. Yeah, it's very similar. The actual reactions are similar. That's a good observation. I like that.
Well done.
That kind of brings us to, and thank you for sharing, Elena.
Eleni.
Sorry, you said it like 3 times. Names. It kind of, before we go into faith, perhaps we could just touch upon what to do to help with fear.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so you know, I want you to be aware of the time. It's 9:37. So as you go, yes, but it's really helpful. So let's do that. Okay. Can you take a couple of minutes?
Well, I was thinking that what will help us will be to become aware of the origin of your fear by analyzing your thoughts, your feelings, your actions one by one, right? Like, for example, we do react very different in a real threat situation versus an imagined threat situation. So I think I don't want to say the name again, and I know she did something that actually it's the best thing, the number one step you could take immediately when you feel like that. It's breathing, right? Practice stress reduction techniques such as breathing. It's important in those situations. In my case, I dance. I put the music on and I go like freestyle, just go crazy dancing. But breathing also is very, very important. I find that also learning, consciously becoming aware and learning how to shift your focus from from negative thoughts to positive thoughts also is helpful. For some people, affirmations are helpful. Others is just becoming aware of how you feel and think, and then you change those, to positive. What do you think, Colleen? What do you do?
I agree. I think you're right. Where the origin is important, because if it's coming from a limiting belief, then you address that limiting belief. If it's coming from obviously, if it's a legitimate fear, right, then you have to get yourself to a safe place or that sort of thing. Like, if I'm fearful because I don't walk down streets by myself at night, like that sort of thing. That's, in my opinion, is a legitimate fear, because I mean, there's certain areas that you just don't want to do that, right? And so I do things like keep people with me and that sort of thing. So, but if it's a limiting belief, then you can address it. And then, and we've talked about it before, right, Dela? Like you can get a coach that can help you through it, but there's a lot of techniques that I think we even talked about it in our first episode about addressing limiting beliefs.
Yes. For
and
sure.
yeah, so I think that you're 100% right, that acknowledging where that origin or where it's coming from is the first step to determining what you do next. So sometimes you can just acknowledge that it has no basis. And if you consciously just say that has no basis, that might be enough just to overcome that fear without having to go further. Because some of them you can just call BS on them and move through them.
I like it. Call BS on yes, because some people are afraid of public speaking. I mean, every single time I'm going live on Facebook, and I'm going to interview someone, I literally, I feel my heart racing, and I feel that anxiety. And so I really have to calm myself down and call BS on it. Like, I've done this a million times. Like, what am I afraid of? Right.
Yeah.
And then what takes us to our next topic, which is faith, which I think you cannot talk about fear without going into faith, because
Yes.
that, and I hope that people have been watching us from the beginning and have stayed on to watch the rest of this as we offer another perspective. So Paul has started watching us. Thank you, Paul. He's part of my kickboxing crew.
Oh, cool.
Navid is watching us. Thank you so much for being here on the butterfly effect. Okay, next topic. Okay, faith. What is faith?
Should I get my trusty definition?
Yes, let's hear the definition. Keep in mind that we are 20 minutes into the end of the show.
Okay.
Okay.
So faith, complete trust or confidence in something or someone. And I think that can be with or without evidence, right? So having complete trust or confidence in something or someone. And Paula, you had a different definition of faith that you had, right?
Yeah, well, in my context, it's all about Christianity. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But this is...
No. First
like,
of all, wait. Please do not apologize for your Christianity. That is part of who you are, and we love you. So
thank you. I love you. I love you. Nobody's watching you too.
I love you. What she means is, I love you, you religion-less people.
You're so funny. Well, here is what I come up with. So it says that in the context of religion, faith is defined as believing in God or in the doctrines or teachings of religion. People who believe in God often think of faith as confidence based on perceived degree of warrant, while others who are more skeptical of religion think of faith as simply belief without evidence. This brings me to Luke 1:37. And I love it because it says faith does not make things easy. It makes them possible. Amen.
I like that. I really like that definition. Yes, yeah. I really like it. Should I give you my acronyms for the word faith? I came up with them, okay? Feeling alive, incredible, trusting, hopeful.
Right.
I love that.
Those are all the emotions I feel when I have faith. So it's really, it's like switching once you become aware that you are fearing something that comes from an irrational place, and then switching it to, no, everything's going to be okay, even if it looks impossible, right? Yeah. What do you think of that? Oh, Tracy, hello, Tracy. She says, these are such interesting topics.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. By the way, Tracy is going to be on Dela's Voice on Sunday.
Yay!
Speaking her truth and her story. So that's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, go ahead, Colleen.
I think so. I have a couple of faith acronyms, and there's one that I picked. So, fully anticipating it to happen. Mm-hmm. That one is the one that kind of described it for me a little bit. So, fully anticipating it to happen. So, having faith, and that can be in yourself. That can be in something greater than yourself. I think that just having a believing and knowing that all is and will be well.
Okay. And we're going to go to Paula, but I also want to put it out to our viewers. What do you think? What is faith to you? What's your take on this? Paula?
I believe faith cannot be explained by logical reason. Somehow faith has nothing to do with the feelings. It's to do with a knowing. It's deep-seated in your heart. It's like taking the next step when you don't see the entire staircase, right?
Yeah.
So if we have no faith, we will not drive. We will not take a plane to travel around the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's beyond even hope. I find that hope resides in your mind, faith resides in your heart.
I like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so and faith is what allows us to keep going.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like
even when we fear, even when we're not sure, even when we're doubting. So yeah, to me, we all need faith. Okay, so what do you have faith in? I should go there because, right? Because people are like, they have faith in different things. In right. So what I say, where do you base your faith in? Whom? What? Is that an okay question to ask?
Yeah, of course. We asked it about fear, so it makes sense to ask it about faith.
Right? Yeah.
So I'd like to hear from our audience what their thoughts. What do they have faith in? Where do they place that faith? For me, like I said, I think that for me, it's having faith in myself is something that when I used to lack confidence, and though I still have moments where I lack confidence, and I have to step up and remind myself that I have to have faith in myself. And then having faith in the universe, right? Having faith that there's something greater than me, and we say in pure spiritual intelligence, and you guys have both been there, that the universe, whether that's for you, that's God, or Allah, or wherever you're coming from, that higher power, that it is benevolent, right? So it wants the absolute best for you. So having faith that the universe is on your side, and it's just waiting for you to be ready and to ask for it.
Paula?
So the question is what I have faith in, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's having faith in a better tomorrow. It's believing in God, right? It's how do I explain this? Just give me a second. I find that when we have faith in a better tomorrow, we end up focusing on solutions. Therefore, we find the path to what can be done versus complaining about how bad things are. So as a believer, I believe in God. So therefore, I have faith that no matter what happens in my life, it's meant to happen for a purpose, for a reason. And I believe that ultimately, this is to prepare me, to shape me, to teach me. And I embrace that because I know that the Lord is looking after me and He has a purpose for my life. And all the things that happen for a reason. So that's my faith. I don't put my faith in myself. I don't trust myself because my feelings are up and down like a seesaw. If I was to put faith in myself, I'm like not so sure where I will end up. That's from my perspective. Like that's how I look at faith. No matter what, there will be a better tomorrow. And I look at nature. When there is a storm, after a storm, the sun always comes up. It's kind of it sort of links. You're right. It links with the fear, the faith, fear, faith.
And so you're right in that. As you're talking, though, I have to say, Paula, because I have a lot of faith in me. That I know what to do because I believe in in my own inner voice. So that's where we come from different perspectives. So I feel like I have an inner voice. You want to call it my intuition, my sixth sense. My higher power is my inner voice. The spirit who now is in this physical realm knows best. And if I really quiet myself down, I can hear that inner voice guiding me. And so that's whom I place my faith in. Does it make sense to you?
May I add something?
Yes.
So I've had a friend of mine who said that they see their inner voice, because I'm like you, I see it as my intuition. They see that their inner voice as whispers from God. So for them, it's the same, way of getting to them, but from them, the source where it's coming from is possibly God. So I understand, and she would have the same, I think, description as Paula did, in that she wouldn't have faith in herself, but she would have faith in those whispers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And
does that resonate?
For sure. It's great. I think the bottom line is we get, as long as we have the faith, right, getting us through.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where the faith comes from. Honestly, there's people who believe in different, I don't know, like there's people who put their faith into a statue, and that's okay. As I think that, but it's true, right?
Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
is really strong.
As long as it comes from love, I'm not judging.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's people with different beliefs, and they put their faith into different things, and as long as they get through, right? Who cares where your faith comes from? So I have a comment from Debbie who says sometimes you have to put faith in someone else's hand. For example, when you fly, you are putting your faith into the pilot.
Yes.
Right? She's got
that is very true, Debbie. Very, very true.
So, and I know that we talked about this earlier, and we actually said, is it right? Is it okay to put your faith into the hands of someone else?
Well, I think who said earlier that when you would, Paula, you said you wouldn't even drive if you didn't have faith. Well, when you drive, especially in the greater Toronto area, you're putting your faith in a lot of people.
It's true. It's true. I think bottom line is,
there you go.
Like Tracy says, people need faith, love, and hope. Which is so true, right?
Yes, 100%.
You know what's
Thank you.
What I find interesting, Dela, is that you said you put faith in yourself, but when you quiet down, you hear those whispers, and that's where you get the message of your faith in. So is the faith then in yourself, or you still it's outside of yourself? You know what I mean? Like when you say, Colleen, you put your faith, you have faith in yourself. I think you said that. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I have faith in that I know enough, and that I'm coming from a place of love, and that that I can make decisions and make choices, and that will always be like I said, as long as it comes from love, then I'm okay with that. And when I have an intuition that says just, go ahead and do it, or don't do it, or whatever it is, when I have that faith in that intuition, that gut feeling, that for me, that's internal. That's me talking to me. So, and sometimes it's the universe. Sometimes it'll be, like sometimes I'm driving and all of a sudden I get this feeling that says, turn right. And I'm like, okay, like, you know what I mean? I intended to get to this place by going by this route, and I get this feeling I should go by the other route. And then sometimes I later find out there was an accident that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and I believe that that's just, my intuition and, something greater than me. I'm okay with that.
Tracy says, sometimes you have to put your faith in others and their abilities. For example, my patients need to have faith that the cardiac team will do their best to look after them.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
I think we're coming to the conclusion that it's good to have faith in people too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And sometimes you can get hurt though. Sometimes you put you can put faith in someone who hasn't quite earned it. And you just, take a leap of faith, and that can end up with wonderful consequences. And sometimes it ends up with not so great consequences. But what I do still have faith in is that I will make it through it, and it'll be better tomorrow.
Yes.
I like what Thomas Aquinas said. To the one who has faith, no explanation is necessary. To the one who has faith, there is no explanation necessary. And to the one who has no faith, no explanation is possible. Something like that. I don't know if I
think you said it right. To the one with faith, no explanation is necessary.
And the one with no faith, no explanation is possible.
Right. Yep, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
No, it's a good statement.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean we put faith versus fear because if I truly believe this, that if you are fearful, then you've lost faith. And if you are you have faith, then you have no right to be fearful. And now we're not talking about lions anymore. We're talking about limiting beliefs.
And doesn't that kind of brings us to the law of attraction aspect? We attract good things because we believe and expect good things to come, right? And then if we don't believe in good things and we see only bad things happening, then guess what? That's what we attract. That's what we manifest.
And then there's Tony Robbins' quote, which is, let me think. Energy flows where the attention goes. So if you're focusing on the fear, it's almost like you almost can make that happen, right? And then if you focus on faith, then you can, you're bringing that to fruition.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think step number one though is to be aware.
Yes.
So that's why being mindful of how we feel at any point of time is so important. To face our emotions is very important. To accept them and then see where we can go from there is so important. And so I want to reiterate, because I always do, hire a coach, because a coach can help you, can guide you. A coach sees you from the outside, and they'll take you where you want to go. And these amazing ladies that are on this platform are great coaches, and they can be reached on Facebook. And why don't you go ahead and give people a little bit of direction on how they can reach you, Colleen, and then Paula, please.
Sure. You can reach me at ColleenWoodhead@gmail.com. That's ColleenWoodhead@gmail.com.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
So guys, before we go, I have something just for fun. I found this longest word in a dictionary.
Oh,
It's a tongue twister, but bear with me because it's a kind of an ironic twist to it at the end. So I thought it was fun. So let me just a second, please. Just bear with me. I have to try and say it syllable by syllable because it's long.
Tell us.
So it's hypopotomostrosesquipedaliophobia. Now, the ironic twist is that his name is for a fear of long words.
I don't have
whatever you said. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was funny. So how can you reach me? healwithpaula@gmail.com, and that's HEALWITH paula@gmail.com. So
Thank you.
this is the butterfly effect, bringing you love,
Hope,
and compassion.
thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the love. Please stay safe. Till next time. Bye.
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 Bye, Paula.